What if the Library of Alexandria didn't just lose books, but entire branches of science, revolutionary machines, and masterpieces that could have changed human history? We'll never fully know what vanished in those flames. But what if it happened again? All of humanity's knowledge is being concentrated into a single, invisible, extremely fragile place. Our modern version of the great library of the ancient world is called the cloud. A library whose aim was to collect every book ever written has been replaced by the vast reaches of the internet. Data servers worldwide now store 200 zettabytes of information. That's 200 billion terabytes or 200 trillion gigabytes, and half of it is in the cloud. In part 1 of this series, we toured the Great Library of Alexandria, watched as it burned, and uncovered its true fate. An institute of great learning that stood for 700 years, home to the most complete collection of knowledge of the entire ancient world, when it fell to its knees and when it was quietly left to decay. Today we ask, what was kept at Alexandria that was so precious, that was lost when it burned? Where could our technology have reached if the library hadn't tumbled to its knees? Could we really have made it to space 1,000 years earlier, like some rumors claim? What would happen if the great modern library came crumbling down in a single instant today? Or are we watching it go up in flames slowly, in real time, right now, without our notice? And if we are, what or who lit the match? Join me as we unravel all this and much more and enter the Codex Legendarium. I'm Shelby Melanson. Welcome back. Today, we're jumping into part 2 of the series. So if you missed part 1, seriously, pause here and go give it a watch, especially if you're a history buff. I am a firm believer that history tends to repeat itself. So before we can talk about what might happen if our modern world's information storage system suddenly ceased to exist, yeah, I know, insane concept, right? We have to look at the last time it happened. And from there, we have to figure out what was lost. So let's start there. The Library of Alexandria might have been in Egypt, but its books, or rather scrolls, were world travelers. Thanks to a very, very unique law at the time, which actually went on to inspire a ton of similar laws more than 1,500 years later, by the way. Every single manuscript that arrived in the city's harbor was taken, copied, and added to the Library of Alexandria's archive. That means tomes from Greece, Persia, India, Mesopotamia, among others, were all kept there for safekeeping. Massive amounts of those scrolls were also meticulously organized by subject matter, and sorting them was a job given to one specific guy at first, who basically created what we think of today as a library catalog, including title, author, subject, and whether the scroll was a single text or multiple texts. As for those categories, we're talking areas including, but not limited to, history, natural history, poetry, law, rhetoric, medicine, and mathematics. The big question is, how can we know exactly what was in the library if it was lost? Well, because of that law we talked about a second ago, the original scrolls were kept at the library, but the copies made of them were given back to the ships that they arrived on, meaning we have an idea of what was lost because some of it survived in other places in the world, which is probably why we still have major works from people like Aristotle, Plato, and Homer. And beyond that, historians have worked to reconstruct the library's directory based on references, quotes, and citations in books that did survive. So here is a general idea of our best guess at what was lost. For one, massive amounts of classic literature. Greek playwright Sophocles wrote about 120 plays in his lifetime, and we only have 7 of them. The rest, or at least most of the rest, were probably somewhere in the library, and he's not the only one. Other, lesser-known playwrights also had dozens of plays lost, including one that supposedly beat out Sophocles' work Oedipus Rex for first prize at a festival. Out of an estimated 10,000 lines of poetry written by ancient Greek poet Sappho, only 650 lines have survived, while an entire 23-book history of Persia, written by a Greek doctor, was completely lost. Not to mention a dictionary written by the 4th Roman Emperor Claudius that translated Latin to Etruscan, the language of the ancient civilization that was native to Italy. And by the way, because of the loss of that dictionary, there are roughly 13,000 inscriptions written in that language that we still can't decipher today. And that is on top of the probably thousands upon thousands of lesser-known and/or regional works of literature that we'll never know the names of. That's history and literature, but what about science? Greek physician Herophilus was the first scientist to perform systematic dissections of human cadavers. His original work was completely lost, but he's still considered the father of anatomy because at least some of his findings were preserved by other scholars. Though, admittedly, he is a teeny bit controversial because some people said he also experimented on living people. Yeah, okay, anyway. Looking Up at the Stars, a book written by Greek astronomer Aristarchus of Samos, is credited as the first ever heliocentric model of the universe. As in, the Earth revolves around the sun, not the other way around. Thankfully, we know about the book because Archimedes talked about it in his writings. I talked all about this in a couple of my previous episodes already, by the way, so if you're into space and you haven't seen those yet, go check them out. On top of that, another Greek astronomer calculated the distance to the sun, which, depending on how you convert his measurements, is within 1% of accepted modern measurements, roughly 149 million kilometers. Sound familiar? His work was lost too, not to mention that of many other astronomers, as well as detailed star catalogs, planetary observations, and predictions about celestial events like eclipses. We also lost over 100 essays on physics, astronomy, and ethics from Greek philosopher Democritus, who, by the way, is considered a major player in the creation of, you're not going to believe this, atomic theory of the universe. And on top of all of that, we also lost knowledge about early navigation tools like the astrolabe, meaning if the library didn't burn, we might have had advanced navigation centuries earlier. And then there are the machines. As if all that wasn't enough, an engineer and mathematician from ancient Greece miraculously invented a whole bunch of mechanisms and machines that appear strikingly modern and advanced, and also the blueprints for all of those were, of course, you guessed it, lost. And some of them didn't get reinvented and rediscovered until the Renaissance, well over 1,500 years later. A quick note on this inventor himself, his name was Heron, or Hero of Alexandria. Yeah, I know, quite the name. And he's been described as, quote, the greatest experimentalist of antiquity. Out of all his machines, the most amazing and hard to believe of the bunch was probably the eoliophile. In essence, it was a cauldron, a sphere, and 2 bent tubes. In practice, it was a steam engine that showed how rising steam could move the sphere and create motion. And let's not forget, this was created sometime during the 1st century, meaning 2,000 years ago. The first commercially usable piston steam engine didn't get patented until 1698, just over 300 years ago. Now, full disclosure here. Some scholars today say that this machine was a steam engine in theory, but that it didn't really have practical application, mostly owing to the fact that it didn't create enough torque and that the level of metalworking at the time wasn't strong enough to hold up to basically the pressures needed for industrial power. And okay, fair enough. But to that, I will remind you of technology like the Antikythera mechanism, a complex and unbelievably precise piece of astronomical equipment made of metal that literally mapped the past, the present, and the future of planetary motion. And we still struggle to replicate it today. Now, the same guy is also said to have created a whole bunch of other machines that were way before their time, including a temple altar door that would open when a fire was lit in a certain vessel, thanks to expanding air and an internal pulley system. A coin-operated dispenser, or more accurately, something we'd call an actuator today, just like what's inside modern vending machines. And a totally autonomous miniature theater, complete with moving figures and scenery that use the same technology that's inside modern grandfather clocks. Okay, so that's a lot of lost writings, inventions, and antiquity in general, many of which didn't get reinvented until centuries or millennia later, and others that may never be, like poetry. And that's just what we know. Who's to say there weren't writings all about, I don't know, extinct animals, or records of ancient materials, or ways of curing diseases, or retellings of ancient events in human history that are now completely lost to us and to time. That's a lot of questions, I know. But now that we know what happened in the ancient world, let's look at what's happening today. Is there a modern version of the Library of Alexandria? I'd say there is, but instead of stunning architecture and meticulously organized scrolls, our modern library lives inside servers, in a place we now call the digital world. Scrolls versus terabytes, centralized versus decentralized knowledge. The internet was created to connect the world and transport information over vast distances without needing to physically send a single thing. Or also maybe to save you the trouble of going to the library to check out a physical book when you can just Google search it, right? But the internet actually started out as a Cold War tool, quick aside, for the US government, but that is another story. I digress. Later on, cloud storage was created to eliminate giant and expensive on-location server rooms, and to allow anyone, anywhere, to access the information that they need. It's a heck of a lot like a giant library, just look at what Wikipedia has sought to become. A free, all-encompassing, fully digital encyclopedia, right? Although those of you who went through school or who have been involved in just about anything academically post like 2001 when Wikipedia came out know that academia does not consider this a trustworthy source. But again, that's another story. Just like the ancient library, the goal of collecting and offering up a complete and universal collection of all human knowledge is a lofty one, to say the least. Bridging the gap between scientists on opposite sides of the world allows for faster exchange of ideas and scientific and technological development, of course. It allows people to learn and educate themselves no matter where they are in the world. But it also comes with some pretty major pitfalls. For one, it doesn't actually preserve everything. Remember that law we talked about in Alexandria that required all books to be added to the library? Well, try as we might, we're not so good at doing that today. When lesser-known books go out of print, no one digitizes them, and libraries might even throw them away in a process called library bookweeding. And eventually, if enough of that happens, they'll be gone for good. Same thing with old TV shows, or maybe even news broadcasts from decades past. Or how about when VCRs and eventually even DVDs become totally unreadable because we just don't make things that can play them anymore? Part of this is also because of the sheer amount of just stuff that we modern people create as well. But again, here's the thing. Even though we now live in this mindset that everything is preserved, the internet is forever, even though it's actually not so simple, we've started forgetting other things that one day we might not be able to get back. How many phone numbers do you have memorized right now? Seriously, think about it. Would you know how to get around if you didn't have GPS? In even just the past few years that AI has gone mainstream, how many things does a chatbot or an agent do for you now that you don't even think about anymore? What if, and not to sound alarmist here, this is purely a philosophy exercise, but what if the internet or the cloud somehow went down for good? We're talking a complete and total server collapse. if we somehow lost all of our digital info all at once? Instead of the Library of Alexandria going up in flames, what if some kind of solar flare struck that was more powerful than anything we've ever seen, and it totally wiped out our technology and sent us back to the pre-tech 1800s? How much knowledge do you, yourself, have in your mind that doesn't require that Google search? According to this study, ever since the year 2007, 99.9% of all information generated by humans has been put in digital form. And to counter that, only 0.007% of the planet's information gets put on paper now. And digital storage overtook analog storage way back already in 2002. Think about the loss of scientific research, of academic studies and data. Financial records would vanish. Heck, even the proof of ownership for most of our own property would probably be gone in a flash. Instantly, with no backup. How much of our technological progress is fragile? What would rebuilding from something like that actually look like? After the Library of Alexandria was lost, human history continued on. The knowledge, especially the scientific knowledge we just covered, either got rediscovered or invented, maybe in a slightly different way than the original, sometime at some point later. So, going based on that, losing the library probably didn't halt or completely eliminate certain avenues of technological development, much to the contrary of some interesting social media posts you see floating around when you search this stuff up. But it probably did set them back at least a few hundred or perhaps even a few thousand years in some areas. Now let me put it like this. We all use advanced tech every single day. Like, take microchips, for instance. They're in our phones, they're in our computers, they're in our home appliances, everything. Do you know how to make one? I certainly don't. And I bet that no one single person actually knows how to make the world's most advanced microchip from start to finish. Even at, say, the world's top company that makes the machines that make the chips. Outside of what we think of as tech, how about, I don't know, farming? Do you know how systems that grow our food or keep our society running actually work? I'll be the first to say that I don't either. There's an interesting and kind of funny claim that I've seen making the rounds online about all this. This is kind of what I mentioned a second ago also, that if Alexandria didn't burn, we would have made it to space 1,000 years ago. I personally think it's probably safe to say that that's not true. Although, who knows? But I think it brings up a way more important point to make here. Having one huge bastion of centralized knowledge has its benefits, obviously. The scholars at Alexandria knew that science is as much about making discoveries as it is about organizing and interpreting the information that we already have. The library collected and stored virtually all knowledge of the time, and it was accessible in one place and in one language to anyone that walked inside. That alone speaks to its real value. But if you ask me, even that isn't its true power. Its real power is acting as a kind of connective tissue, connecting sources of knowledge together and making them accessible. That way, for example, engineers can refine something that's already there instead of wasting time rediscovering what was once lost. Because the difference between starting over and building on top of can be measured in centuries. For better or worse, we can't rewind time. We have no way of knowing what might or might not have happened if profound events in history played out differently. Unless we can somehow figure out how to talk about different timelines, that's another matter. Maybe check this one out. If you ask me, Tom Stoppard said it best in his play Arcadia. Quote, "We shed as we pick up, like travelers who must carry everything in their arms, and what we let fall will be picked up by those behind. The missing plays of Sophocles will turn up piece by piece, or be written again in another language. Ancient cures for diseases will reveal themselves once more. Mathematical discoveries glimpsed and lost to view will have their time again. You do not suppose, my lady, that if all of Archimedes had been hiding in the great library of Alexandria, would we be at a loss for a corkscrew?" But what do you think? If we didn't lose the library 2,000 years ago, where would our technology today have reached? Would science have been catapulted into the future? Will we ever fully rediscover what was lost at that time? Or have we already? And are we watching history repeat itself, except this time it's server rooms instead of scrolls? I would love to hear your take on all this in the comments, and if you have an idea for something you'd like to see a future episode on, please just take a second and let me know. I listen and I read them all. And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive into mysteries, myths, culture, and science, please take just 1 second to like and share this video, hit the hype button, which I'm told is the latest way to tell YouTube that you are really enjoying what you're seeing right now, and if you want to see more, subscribe to this channel. It really helps get the word out there about the show. Until next time, stay curious and stay legendary. And also, real quick before you go, YouTube thinks that you will like this video next, so you might want to check it out. Thank you.